Good evening and welcome. Starting with the big story this hour. The International Court of Justice's Special Tribunal for Lebanon has found Salim Jamil Ayash, one of the 4 accused co-conspirators of Rafik Hariri's assassination, guilty. Salim Ayash has faced 5 charges, including conspiracy aimed at committing a terrorist act and committing a terrorist act by means of an explosive device. No evidence, however, was found which could prove Ayash was a bona fide member of Hezbollah. He has been described as a supporter. Now, reports say that Ayash was related to Mustafa Badreddin, former Hezbollah military leader, and reports also suggest that he was related to Imad Mughniyeh, a Hezbollah military chief who was also killed in a car bombing in 2008. Ayash coordinated the physical perpetration of the attack, according to the prosecution. Large quantities of explosives were concealed in a van, which Ayash had arranged for. Saad Hariri, who is the son of Rafik Hariri and also the former Prime Minister, has said that he respects the verdict given by the ICJ and he wants justice to be implemented.
عرفوا اللبنانيين الحقيقة وللمرة الأولى حكمت العدالة الحقيقية وأهمية هاللحظة التاريخية اليوم هي الرسالة للي ارتكبوا الجريمة الإرهابية وللمخططين يلي وراهم إنه زمن استخدام الجريمة بالسياسة من دون عقاب ومن دون ثمن انتهى. هيدي رسالة المحكمة الخاصة وهيدي رسالة اللبنانيين وهيدي رسالتي للمجرمين.
For more on this, we are being joined by Brent Sadler, who is CNN's former Beirut bureau chief and also one of the last international journalists to interview the former Lebanese Prime Minister. Good evening to you and thank you for being with us. Now, Ayash has been found guilty for co-conspiring in Hariri's assassination case. Hariri's son has reacted, saying that this goes a long way to ensuring consequences for political crimes. What do you make of this verdict?
Alison, hello from Beirut. Well, first and foremost, the conviction of Ayash is very important for the political camp that supports Saad Hariri, the son of the assassinated Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. And what's important to come out of this primarily is that both sides, both the Hariri camp and those opposed to him, that would be the pro-Syrian Iranian camp and Hezbollah, both have something to say about this case. Hezbollah has not been proven. There was not enough evidence to implicate the hand of Hezbollah's fingerprints over this crime, this assassination, nor the hand of Syria. So both the nation state of Syria and the organization militant Shiite group Hezbollah have both been exonerated at leadership levels. And that's very important on the ground here in Lebanon, where tensions are running extremely high. As far as Ayash himself is concerned, he was found guilty on a web of background information and evidence collected over the best part of a decade that pointed to a web of complicated communications between the bombers, suspected bombers and convicted bomber of Hariri. 3 of them are acquitted, as you just said, but the evidence against the lead player in this assassination, Ayash, has been proven beyond reasonable doubt. So you have, at the end of all this, the political camps that are opposed to each other, that's the pro-Syrian, pro-Hezbollah, pro-Iranian axis, versus Saad Hariri, and the West and their regional allies are deeper entrenched in their political warfare than ever before. And there lies the heart of the problem of what may or may not happen next, which means more trouble. After just 2 weeks ago, the Beirut bomb blast devastated huge parts of this capital. And it's why Saad Hariri there in Arabic was telling everybody he wants to see justice respected, but has called for calm, not confrontation and not revenge. Hezbollah, on the other hand, says it doesn't really recognize the court in its shape or form and would never give up anybody who was convicted by the STL. Alison.
Right. Now, you interviewed Hariri in 2004. Tell us about the kind of leader that he was, just a bit of the history. You asked him at the time about if he had any future plans in politics and also about his work in rebuilding Beirut.
Rafik Hariri was an iconic figure here in Lebanon, also a controversial figure. There were those who thought he was the savior of the post-Civil War Lebanon, and there were others who accused him of ramping up very high public debt that all these years later, 15 years later, have helped to throw Lebanon into an economic abyss. So again, there was a division between those that support Hariri and those that don't. But primarily, at the international level, he was the face of Lebanon. And it was because he decided to break away from the status quo in Lebanon back in 2005 that was controlled almost exclusively by Syria and its proxies here in Lebanon, political and militarily, that he decided to try to change things. And in that, say his supporters, it cost him his life because he went against those that were the pillars of Lebanon 15 years ago, the Syrian army, which was forced to withdraw from Lebanon after 2005, and all that's happened since. But in terms of the rebuilder of Lebanon, yes, he'll go down in history for that, not least for the fact that the United Nations recognized him back in 2005 when I interviewed him for rebuilding Lebanon, and he took a very high honor, the UN Habitat honor scroll, for achieving that. So today, his son has the political legacy. Saad Hariri was in The Hague, as you heard him there commenting on the verdict. And when Saad Hariri returns, he'll be coming back to nothing unchanged here in Lebanon, other than the focus of attention has now shifted from a crime, an assassination 15 years ago, to what many say was directly or indirectly through negligence, through failure, systemic corruption, or the hand of an outside player has assassinated Lebanon because of that nuclear scale blast of just 2 weeks ago. Alison.
Thank you very much for that. That's Brent Sadler joining us for the latest there on Hariri.